motivates them? What can we learn? How can we all improve? And I think they're fantastic questions to ask any leader if you get in front of them. And maybe we'll ask Jason those questions today as well. I think there's no doubt in the past year has radically altered how we interact and communicate with each other. And I think Jason will cover up some of his key techniques that he has found worked and has gained from meeting various leaders around the world. I would like to say though, in his spare time, just in case you feel he's working all the time, in his spare time, he does like to trail run over the mountains. So, you know, if you see somebody trail running over the mountains with a light on their head at nighttime, it's Jason. He's, you know, obviously loves that outdoor up the mountains feel. And again, I think Jason, you probably cover it, but that connection between the outdoor space, clearing the head, whatever it takes is absolutely crucial within the COVID environment and getting out there and clearing your head. So Jason, thanks very much for joining us today. It's great to have you back within the DBS family, and I hope it brings back happy memories for you. Okay, hopefully. All right. So again, let me introduce Jason Cooper. And as I said, if any questions, please put them on chat and I'll make sure Jason deals with them at the end of the session. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm always really delighted to come back and speak to the alumni. It'd be really nice to see what you actually look like. So put your cameras on. I don't care whereabouts you are. If you're walking down the street or you're plugging in and you're listening to me now, that makes no difference. I don't care about that. It's fine. All I want to do is see what you look like. Because for me, I need to have an audience. I need to have a connection. I need to actually see what people actually look like. And look, I'm fine with people putting stuff in the chat room because I want to see a little bit of energy in the room, because we get fatigued by doing all of this Zoom stuff all the time, don't we? It's like yesterday, I was just chatting beforehand with Adam. I did back-to-back Zoom calls yesterday. I did 4 in a row, and it was like 4 hours consistently focusing on people and other people. So really this in leadership is all about the other person. It's all about what the other person can do. It's all about the connection. And today it's all about leadership on purpose. And it's what I've learned over the last few years as well. And especially the last year, like we've all changed, haven't we? We've all done something slightly different than what we have been doing before in the past. Give us a thumbs up if you're all with me right now. Just give us a thumbs up, either emoji wise, or you can give a virtual thumbs up just so I can see that you're here. And it's all good to get a bit of energy back into the room. For us to get some energy, I want to actually give you some energy. So something I like to do before I start is a thing called venting. It's not giving out. It's not doing this. I've been in Ireland for too long. I'm an Englishman. But something I like to do is really energize everyone. And what it is, it's doing this. It's going, ah. What I want you to do when you can is I want you to do this as well, because the key thing is when we're sitting down all the time, the blood is sitting down and we're getting quite weighted. But I like to have a little bit of energy. And who else is with me? Do you get a bit of a thumbs up here? Who else likes to have a bit of energy rather than this Zoom fatigue all the time? Give us a thumbs up. After me, what I like you to do is follow me and do this, and you go, ah. And ready, breathe in and go, ah. I can't actually hear any of you. Normally I like to hear people because then I can get a better reaction. So all unmute yourself, and I want you to do this as well. All unmute yourself just for a couple of seconds, because I want to not only be the only silly one in the room here.
The neighbors, James, the neighbors.
Giving yourself energy. Ready, steady, go. Good. You all feel as stupid as me. I'm really delighted with that. And so thank you very much. And you put a smile on my face, which is absolutely awesome. Now, I don't want to PowerPoint you out to death or anything like that, but I will share my screen for a few moments, because I want to run through some topics that I've learned over the last year, and especially over the last year, because I think it's quite imperative and important. There's a key thing about emotional intelligence and how it raises up how we communicate with people and how effective we communicate with people. There's a balance here now. If you have high emotional intelligence and high IQ, God, you're going to be the next Barack Obama, because he's got high IQ and EQ, which is good for connecting with people. Plus, he's a really good storyteller. Plus, he's really good at in other areas of his life. So let me work out my technology for a minute. Are we all good? Are we all great? Are we incredible? Give us a thumbs up. If you have anything in the room that you want to put on the chat, please let me know, because I want to hear energy. I want to hear maximum impact from you guys, because it's all about you. And let me find how I can do this and share on purpose. Awesome. Are we all great? Now, let me see if I can do this. So it's all about leadership and purpose. It's all about what we can do and how we can connect with people. It's all about connection. It's all about raising our game. It's all about doing something slightly different from the norm. I think Adam spoke about this before when he spoke about speaking with HubSpot. I've actually presented to HubSpot a couple of times, and they do something which is so empowering. And we'll speak about that in a few moments, or maybe in the questions afterwards. So a little bit about me is over the last 12 months, I've had to re-pivot on everything that I do, because before it was presenting to audiences in the real world and having that chemical reaction, that connection with people that you can only really get when you see people. So I've had to really change the way I think and the way I do things to have that virtual connection, and how we can create that virtual connection with people now. So everything now is online. I spoke just before about Clubhouse, which is another way to get rid of that Zoom fatigue and actually start to speak with some incredible people around the world. So I was lucky enough to really push myself out there and really connect with global leaders from around the world, billionaires, people that are wonderful keynote speakers. I even spoke to the likes of a guy called Ted Rubin. Do a quick search on Google if you can find this name. He did content marketing before the buzz name of content marketing became a thing. He worked with some of the most phenomenal people around the world. So it's the likes of him that I spoke to. The reason why I speak to that, it's my MBA. It's my MBA of learning. I've learned so much and built and raised my game. And the key thing of what I do is when I speak to people on a podcast, or I did a LinkedIn Live yesterday, I treat it like a conversation, because there's better connection with that way, rather than having a list of questions up like that in front of me, which I've had when I've been on other people's podcasts and live events and so on and so forth. So look, there's a flurry of things. I'm not going to talk about what I've done, because it's where we're actually going to and where we're actually heading in the next few years. How is everyone? Are we all good? Are we all great? Are we incredible? Because I want to see a bit of energy in the room. So give us a thumbs up if you're feeling good. And I can see your pictures up there, so I can give us a little bit of a smile, because it really produces endorphins in your body. The more you can smile, the better that it feels. The better that you feel, the better that you're going to learn. And when you learn something new and you learn with a smile, you engage a lot more, and it creates so much more of an impact to what you're doing. Does that make sense? Good. Great. Awesome. Oh, someone wants to come in the room. Who was going to let them in? So it's all about focus. So guys, I'm going to get you to do something for me. If you can get a pen and paper, I'm assuming you got a pen and paper in front of you. Show me your pens and prove it to me that you have a pen and paper. Excellent. Awesome. Brilliant. Let me just flick through the screens. Brilliant. Have you got any paper? Do you know what a pen and paper is? Yeah, I know where you all tap. Awesome. Brilliant. So this is all about focus. So I'm going to get you to do something, but don't do it before I tell you to start. So what I'd like you to do when I say go is pen and paper. I want you to write 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10. Not now when I tell you to go, because people get a little bit trigger happy here. And then what I'd like you to do is A, B, C, D, F, G, anyway, up to J. So first off, 1 to 10, then A to J. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my smartwatch here. And just put your hands up when you've actually done. Are you ready? Steady, go. Awesome. It's always the women that win on this. I'm just flicking through the screens. So that was around about 11 to 14 seconds, in and around there. So that was awesome. Well done for that. Now what I want you to do, this is a bit of neuroscience here and the study of the mind. And I tell you the reason why we're doing this. So what I'd like you to do next, when I say go, is I want you to do A1, B2, C3, all the way up to J10. So let me stop. Are you ready? Steady, go. And then once you're done, awesome. Okay, do you know why we've done this? Do you know why we're doing this? No? You can put something in the chat room. The reason why we do this is the science of decision making. Have you noticed when you are on your computers, like we are most of the day now, you have lots of tabs open. Then you might have a PDF open. You might have a Word doc open. Then you might have lots of software open. Then you'll have your phone here, and then you'll have your tablet over here, and then you have lots of other distractions. But the reason why the second one was a lot longer is your brain has to focus. The more things that you focus on at the same time, you go slower and you do a lot of things quite badly, or you don't do it with the same amount of passion and consistency. So when you multitask, you don't do things as well as you should do. This is a scientific, well, it's not discovery. We all know it happens. And if you're working on a project, as an example, and then you've got your phone buzzing here and you're constantly going on there, you won't focus as much as you should do. So the simple technique is just a discovery of neuroscience. It's just to show you how well that does. Another thing is, from what I've learned over the last year, or even more than that, is the thing called the Pomodoro technique. And what that basically means, there's apps out there called Brain Focus and lots of other things, is to chunk things down in 2-hour chunks. And what that basically means, what's this got to do with leadership, you ask me, but this, I'm going to get there in the end. Pomodoro technique is to do 25-minute chunks. After 25 minutes, you walk around and you have a stretch or whatever. You do that up to 2 hours, then you reward yourself with a coffee, or you reward yourself with something to eat, or you reward yourself with fresh air. And today we've got a beautiful day. It's a really good way to focus in, because the brain, our brains, all of our brains have problems with focusing in and too much data at too much time. So you need 25 minutes. That's why we get distracted on these Zoom. That's why we all get distracted on these Zoom things, because we need a break. Our brain needs a memory dump. So that was one of the reasons for doing that. Anyway, let's focus on and let's move on. So I appreciate that. So it's really about thinking about how effectively that we can communicate with teams of people. So when I work with teams of people, I look at different areas that we can spend a little bit more time thinking about things, thinking about how we can move forward. Like I got the thinking man here because evidence suggests that once we see a picture of the thinking man up here, we tend to think a lot more. And we've got some really talented people here within the room, highly educated, that think a lot. So we're going to put this into action. So do we have any questions in the chat so far? Are we all good? Are we all clear as mud? Are we all great? Wonderful. Excellent. Let's get some smiles there. Thanks for that lovely smile, Rita. You're doing very well. Thank you. Yeah. So we know that listen and silent are spelt exactly the same way. When we communicate effectively with people, these things on our head is the most strategic operating systems that we have. The more we listen, as we know, the more we know, and the more we communicate with people, the more we understand. There's a thing called 2 ears, 1 mouth. What I want to do, actually, quickly unmute yourself. Quickly unmute yourself. You want to unmute yourself, and what I want you to do is do this for a second. I want you to start talking about the weather for a few moments and start rambling on about something, about the weather, about the clouds in the sky or something like that. When you're ready, unmute yourself now and start talking. Ready, steady, go. Talk.
It's a very sunny day.
About the weather.
Very warm.
Sunny weather, really nice.
Very mild.
Great weather in Dublin too.
Okay, stop.
Enjoying myself.
Stop. Mute yourself. Other than I instructed you to say about talking about the weather, what did you actually hear? Did you hear anything? Did you hear anyone's conversation? As effective leadership, what goes on in people's heads, and even right now, you're having this internal dialogue in your head at the moment. You're probably thinking like it's Paddy's Day tomorrow. God, how many beers am I going to have tonight? Or how much wine, glasses of wine? Like whatever you're thinking about, your internal dialogue is talking to you. The skill for me, the skill for you, and the gift forward, how effectively can you listen to what the other person is saying? What are the key things that you can train your brain muscle to listen to more effectively? Like Sean is probably expert at this because he facilitates all the time, and he has to listen to you guys and understand and process. So the key to effective communication is to listen, think, to respond, not think about the next question that you're going to say. So when I teach leaders or professionals, sales professionals, this is one of the key aspects that I do. The next level up to listening is really sort of using empathetic communication, but it's literal listening. What does literal listening actually mean? Does anyone know? Done with speaker once, but okay, so literal listening is really understanding the language that someone is actually saying. So we always use central linguistics, central language when we speak. More so in the West, that we use more visual orientated language. So when we all chatted a few moments, we were talking about the weather, but that's actual visually orientated language. So when I'm listening to people now, I listen to the actual language that they're actually using, and understanding if they're using large, if they're talking about things that are big, bold, and they're speaking in sort of clarity. I would listen to that to respond, but using a similar type of language back at them. So there's a connection there. So there's a rapport there. People like themselves. So that's one of the things that you do in literal listening. Do a little bit of a search. My challenge for you guys is to work on this. When you go out in the real world, when you go out into a tech company or whatever, this is the number one skill that you can have in emotional intelligence, is to really listen, to understand, and forget the inside chatter that's going on in your head that we all speak about all the time. The more we listen, the more we know, and the more we can learn. Is that all good? I'm preaching to the converted here. Are we all great, wonderful, incredible, intelligent, smart, funny, wonderful, brilliant? Okay, so trust. What does trust mean? Does anyone know what trust means?
Person believes in you.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust, actually, the big trust, the Maslow's laws of need and the feeling of belonging. When we like people, we trust them. There's a connectivity there. Trust is one of those things. How do we build trust? Does anyone know how we build trust with people? You can unmute yourself and you can come back in two-way dialogue. I like a bit of two-way dialogue. It feels like I'm facilitating properly. So what does trust mean?
Keeping our
through
promises.
communications.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanna, you were just about to say something. Oh, I can't hear you because your mic is muted or whatever. But that's good. So I'll explain from a neuroscience point of view is when we are born into the world, there's a simple connection between the mother and the child. There was an instant connection. It's a thing called trust. It's one of these things that we all have. And there's a natural connection between a mother. But what's that got to do with leadership? What's that got to do? It's got to do everything to do. The more we trust people, the more we listen to understand what they're saying, it really helps the whole thing. When I got everyone to smile a little bit earlier and everyone started to feel good, that's a little bit of trust, because people like people that are nice and happy. People like there's a connection with them. So they feel more inclined to have a bit of connection. It builds rapport and trust. So a bit about the brain behind us. There's a thing in our brain called the mirror neurons. What is that? What does that actually mean? I'll explain a little bit more about the mirror neurons. So cortisol is the stress. It brings up in conflict in the mind. So with having this fight, flight, or freeze mechanisms that are going on from our ancient old brain of ours that we've had for the last, I don't know, couple of 100,000 years, but we've just had this brain still in our heads, which is the old part of our brain. When we're now in the 21st century, we're constantly conflicted by this fight, flight, or freeze. So the idea is when someone actually had a conversation with a guy yesterday. So if I'm the boss and you're the employee, all of a sudden I pick you up and go, Adam, would you like to come over here into my office right now? Because I want to have a word with you. What's Adam starting to think of? He's starting to think, shit, excuse my French. Oh, crap. Oh, no. What have I done? So what is actually happening in his brain? He's actually thinking of scenarios in his head. Am I going to get sacked here? Oh, God. How am I going to pay the mortgage? Oh, God, what have I done? So what this is how communication can be really bad for you. And how the communication in your head, all of a sudden, he's gone into the office, his body is freezing up, he's short of breath, he's breathing from the top. All because of what the boss had said to him in the way of communicating. So what would be a more strategic approach to someone in that situation? The right way of bringing him in is, Adam, I think you've been doing a wonderful job. I'd love to have a quick chat with you just to see how well we can improve on things. And notice in Adam's head, all of a sudden, he's starting to create better pictures in his mind about the situation and scenario. We all think in our heads in stories, and we all visualize in stories all the time. As you're speaking to me now, you're probably thinking in a story or picture in your head of what's actually, where's Jason going with this? So when we connect with people, what I'd like you to really start to think of is how can you create a better story to connect with people? There's a whole day's workshop I can do on this, but the bigger you can impact people is to create a good, wonderful story to build up a wonderful connectivity within the mirror neurons in our mind. as I say, people like themselves, which creates trust. It also creates rapport. It also creates that feeling of understanding. I like you, you're similar to me. Are we all good? Are we all great? Are we incredible? Fantastic. So let's start to move on. What I like, actually, let me just stop my video for a second. Bear with me. Hold on. Okay. I'm just going to stop, I hope. Okay. Can you all see me? Have you noticed in this square that we're in is body language, as we know from research in 1955, is the key thing before I even open my mouth. It's the key thing of building connectivity, building a lot of trust in what I do and how I respect you. In this Zoom world, I'd like to come a little bit closer here and sort of lean in a little bit, is in the real world, if I stared at you like this, you'd probably think I'm a bit of a nutter. But in the virtual world, I can actually get away with it because all I'm doing is I'm talking to the camera. You can see my face. You can see my backdrops behind me. So if I start to lean back a little bit, you don't know what's going on behind. I'm actually in shorts today because it's actually quite nice, but I've got a shirt on. I've actually got nice context behind me. So when I normally start a conversation, I normally like to find out where everyone is. This is something that you can do in, this is how people work in business now. How I advise people is to have really good body language, because body language is a really good way of connectivity to other people. The bigger they open the body language, and sometimes it's got to be connected to what I'm actually saying. So when I interviewed a guy called Mark Bolden, which is one of the world's leading experts on body language, he actually taught me how to do a lot of things. And also an interrogator called Scott Rouse, he actually interviews the FBI to help them interrogate people. But he also showed me how to be more effective with the body language that we do, especially online. So my suggestion to you, and when you're having lots of communication online, is raise your laptop up. I'll just show you mine, actually. I'm just going to move mine. So I've got mine like that. I've got it raised up like that. So I've got a couple of books underneath, and then I've got a second screen here like that. And tomorrow I've got a desk, so I'm actually going to be standing up, because the brain likes it when we're all standing up. Excuse me, I've lost my second screen. So I'll be all clear as mud here. So it's just something that you can do logistically. And you notice behind me, I've got a ring light. This is what people like to do now, is to really start to engage. And plus I've got a mic here, but you don't necessarily need a mic, a professional mic like that. How is everyone? Let me share back to the screen, because where we're actually going, I don't know how much time I've got, but I'll just carry on. I'm sure I'll get kicked off when I've done enough of this. Is this all making sense? Are we all good? Let me find that. Awesome. So certain things you can do to really create. What I like you to do is have a straight back. What I like you to do, I know my grandfather always used to say, is keep your head up. There's a direct correlation between the brain to your physiology. So the more straight you are, the better that you are. If you can get hold of something to raise your desk up, you're 10% more intelligent when you stand up. You're 10% more engaged when you stand up. So something I want you to actually do, you know, when you're walking around, you think of all the ideas. This is exactly when you're standing up and you're on your work desk. This is how a lot of people actually work now, is they stand up and they got their laptops up here, because they're more engaged, the brain is more engaged, you're 10% more likely to be more creative in what you do. Okay. So in this Zoom world, as you can really understand, it's having your tone, your tonality, and it's really okay to take some pauses every now and again and speak. I can actually speak really slowly, but speak with passion about everything that I do, because I love doing this, because it's one of the most fundamental things in my life is to find what works for you and your passion. Something I posted the other day on social, I can't remember which social platform it was. It's taken a while for me to find my passion in life. Like, there's been lots of ups and lots of downs and lots of highs and lows. But the only thing I keep on doing in myself is to learn something new every day and to experience something new every day, especially in this COVID world. Your brain likes experience. It likes to see something new every day. It likes to feel something new every day. So when I speak, I vary my tones up and down all the time, just to hopefully make you a little bit more interested into this PowerPoint presentation. And you've been killed off by PowerPoint presentations over the last few years or whatever. But, you know, it's how we effectively communicate with other people, but by doing it more effectively, because the way we use our language is affecting someone else. There's a thing called transference of our linguistics and our language that can affect other people to change for the best or for the worst. But I want to make sure that whatever you say is you say the most effective thing possible. I'll give you an example. I go down to my local cafe every now and again, and here's my coffee, by the way. So every time I walk in there, I go, "How are you doing today?" And then I say, "Well, what's making you smile today?" So what that does, it empowers other people and makes them feel good about themselves. And that's exactly what you do in leadership. You make other people feel good about what they're doing. It's very simple. And whatever you do in life, just remember those things, because it's really good. So there's a direct correlation between my voice, my body language, and what I'm saying, what I'm doing. There's neurotransmitters all over our body, in our heads, that's making you think right now. Hands up here that gets a gut feeling. Do you get a gut feeling about something? Do you act on it or not? The wonderful thing about our gut is full of, there's a direct correlation between our gut by the vagus nerve that goes up into our brain. When you get that funny feeling in your gut, you get that gut feeling and go, "Damn, I wish I should have trusted my gut feeling on this." There's neurons, apparently there's neurons in the stomach that go straight up to the brain. So trust your gut feeling. It's a really powerful thing to do. The more you can trust that, everyone says, "I've got a really good gut feeling about this. I wish I could do this and make it work for me." So the head, the heart, and the gut are all interconnected. Again, what's this got to do with leadership? But it's a lot of this along the way will really help you move forward and make sure that you're more effective at what you do. So empathetic communication and building more respect to other people is, Brandon, I can see you now. It's really to understand what it's like to be in your shoes, especially in this COVID time, even more so in this COVID time. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety out there, which is understandable because we're level 5 lockdown, which is really, well, we're sociable creatures. So really understanding you and how you can best perform, and for the likes of Sean and Rita, how they can best facilitate out with empathy really sitting in your shoes, really understanding what's going on in your mind. That's one of the biggest things that leaders and leadership can actually do. What we are missing in the big corporates is the coffee breaks, the sitting down after we've had everything else and having a chat about things. So key thing that we can do now as leaders is to allow you to have 15 minutes coffee break and allow you to just talk about the weather or whatever, or talk about and discuss things that are actually being taught to you then, because that's the best time that we'll learn and grow from other people. So those 15 minutes or that lunch break is then we communicate. So suggestion going forward, and this is what a lot of the biggest leaders now are actually saying and suggesting, is to have those coffee breaks, to have something that's not in your world, it's academic, have something that is sociable, have something that can create, I don't know, talk about a book, talk about something else, talk about a movie, or whatever it might be, so we can all learn and grow in that way. Are we all good? Are we all great? Are we incredible? Are you still listening? Because I have been rattling on over the last couple of minutes because I want to make sure I give you the maximum impact so you can learn and grow. And that's all I'm into, is people learning and growing. So meta empathy, I'm not going to go too much into this. It's almost like, so meta empathy is seeing things from a different perspective. It's a holistic way of looking at things. So imagine that you're chatting with a friend, hopefully eventually that you see a friend in the real world or a colleague. It's almost like having, this is more of a technique than anything. You can practice and try it yourself. So from the perspective of the first person that you know, then as if I'm sitting in Adam's shoes for a second. So the second perspective is known as the second position. And then holistically, it sounds very out there, but it's a really good process to really understand different points of view from a different position. So you actually understand what it's like for you talking to someone else talking to you, but then almost like a fly on the wall documentary, seeing you both communicate. This just takes a little bit of time and using your visualization, because some of the most effective leaders, if you've ever read Think Rich, Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, written over 100 years ago, it talks about Napoleon Hill interviewing the most phenomenal leaders in the world at that particular time. It's been modernized since then. I suggest you to read it, because what he talks about is closing his eyes and visualizing people from different perspectives and understanding what people actually are thinking of from a holistic point of view. It's been taught again and again and again. The biggest leaders in the world visualize all the time. They visualize success. They visualize conversations. Even me, I visualized having this meeting before I actually did it. It's a huge, powerful technique to do. This is just one of them. What's a return on relationship? Have we all heard of return on investment? So what does return on relationship means? Key thing that I teach now is relationship building. If I can create a loyal customer, they're with me for life. That's return on relationship, not return on investment. Return on investment is you're going to get the investment later on down the line. But let's not think of that. The biggest thing that I can do is, Sean, I've known you for 9 years. I bumped into you at the Guinness Enterprise Center many times. That's relationship. Imagine that, return on relationship with your customers. Think about that when you go out and you're speaking to your clients, because the relationship is absolutely key to building that empathy, building that success. You know what will happen over time is return on investment will happen. But let's have a look at that relationship first, because it's one of those key fundamental things. I still speak to people over 20 years ago that I used to work with. I might not do any business with them. I might do business with them because I'm a likable person. And It's really to understand that. So one of the key messages I want you to start to think of, this was done by a guy called Ted Rubin, and I'm totally bought into this. It's the biggest fundamental things that you can think of. Anyway, I'm going to flick on a little bit. So another way to think of how you can speak to people in a team environment or coaching environment or a leadership environment is to feed forward. What does feed forward? We know what feedback means. Feedback is in the past. But feed forward is looking at the present. So in a coaching environment is, Neve, you did really well in this. I think you got some good foundations of creativity in there. And I like what you did with that research. What I would suggest next time is maybe put a little bit more emphasis into blah, 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 whatever it might be. So what I've done now is state the present, and now I'm planting you into the future with a different approach. It's just a different way of thinking. So when you start to think of feed forward, it's a philosophy from a guy called Marshall Goldsmith, number one leadership coach in the world. Anyway, by a guy called Chester Elton, he's leading with gratitude. I'm very grateful for everything that you've done. I'm very grateful for you assume the positive. The problem with our brain, we assume the negative because the way that we're actually working in our environment. We assume the bad, we assume the worst. That's why I switched the news off, because it's full of crap. Excuse my direct approach. Once you see the news, it's there, and it's working with our brains to fight what we're already thinking on the negative. So how can we start to think of the positive? If you do want to watch the news and you want to learn about COVID and how badly things are going and blah, 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 what I would suggest is back it up by something positive afterwards. Watch something funny. Watch something that's going to enable you to work against the way that our brain is wired and fired together and build better things back into our head so we can actually start to see things in a more of a positive way. So view the world with a bit of love and view the world in a more of a productive way. So we can talk to people better, but also we can talk to ourselves in a better way and lead a little bit more with gratitude and what we have had and what we are going to do. So food for thought. Thank you very much.
I think we all give Jason a virtual round of applause, please. Get into your reactions there and give him a clap, please. Well done. Jason, thank you very much for that. I mean, it's amazing how quickly this passes. I'm just conscious of already we've pushed along for an hour. So well done, and really, really interesting. Such a different approach in terms of the learning and the message you're getting out there. So again, thank you very much for that. And I really do appreciate you taking the time out. A number of questions. So if you don't mind, maybe I'll kick off. And I just have one that comes to my mind very, very quickly, if you don't mind. You just mentioned, again, I'm just conscious of people maybe graduating this year, etc. I'm just mentioning the idea of relationships. And I just noticed your post where you entitled the 7 ways, the 7 R's you had in there was resilience. And I just mind, you wouldn't mind just taking a couple of minutes just to, I think resilience is so crucial from a business perspective, but I think it's also crucial from our own individual perspective, our own personal perspective. How do you build resilience? What's your view on the resilience aspect?
Well, the academic way of looking at resilience is the way of bouncing back up after hearing something bad, hearing something that is, I don't know, it's picking yourself back and moving forward, creating a plan, creating a goal, creating something that's going to help you move forward and make you in the present. A lot of things that are going to hit us all the time, every single day, is we're going to be bombarded by stuff that is going to knock us back. For me, I meditate. I meditate 10 minutes a day. That's all I do. It's just to calm the brain, calm the mind, and start to think internal. It's something that I do. It doesn't work for everyone. I go running. And the reason I go running is to release all stress, but building endorphins. When I finish running, I feel as high as a kite because I know I'm buzzing. So resilience it works for different people depending on the type of person that you are. It's the key thing is to pick yourself back after something negative. I tell you a story about what happened to me last year. One of my best, one of my best friends took his life in February last year. Not a living life out of me. But what I did do is afterwards is I had a few dark weeks, but then I had to pick myself back up and I had to go back out and do what I needed to do to push forward. We all have stuff thrown at us. So it is that thing that gets us back up. And especially in this time that we're in now, it's how we can get up and how we can actually have a conversation with someone, whether it's by Zoom or whether it's by phone.
Absolutely. And again, the reason I think it's a great area to explore, because I think companies are great at building resilient businesses, but I think they really need to focus on building a resilient workforce. And I think that's really where the great companies of the future are going to, really develop, is this whole idea of building a workforce, a resilient workforce for the future, because resilience, I think, is going to be absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Any questions from the floor? I have a few here, but any other questions from the floor, please?
Don't be shy.
Just mine's just in relation to just the online stuff. How have you kind of managed, I suppose, I know we were chatting before, Jason, just with the long days online, and a trend we're noticing with the students now is people just getting fatigued and so on. Have you got any kind of advice for, people maybe to manage themselves? And I think the self-care and the self-management is a big thing now, and I'm really seeing that deteriorate with students, particularly in the last kind of 3 weeks. The term started, the first 4 or 5 weeks kind of went on, and now they're really struggling, I think, energy-wise. Any advice on managing it, or?
I would suggest, I think I might say it in the presentation, is use the Pomodoro technique, is 25 minutes chunks, stretch. I did that venting thing because I want to make sure that you don't get too fatigued. The key thing is keep yourself oxygenated. Breathing techniques is wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to get yourself back in. Stay away from the screen, stare at something else, walk around the house. A technique that I always do is on other presentations, I get you to run around the house and pick stuff up, because once you're active, your brain's engaged, and then you come back. And again, I always look at humor as well, because humor is the best source of my head to keep myself engaged. If I'm like yesterday, I did 4 back-to-back Zoom sessions, and my head was spinning, and I suffer from a little bit of tinnitus, which makes it even worse at times. So that's why I have to listen even more. So again, I would stand up, stretch, walk around, do what you need to do, and then come back in. Give people breaks. If you're presenting or you're doing stuff, give people a break every now and again, because otherwise you start to get fatigued.
It's an important message to lecturers as well, actually, who are delivering stuff probably, and even ourselves. I know in the like the Students' Union, we present stuff regularly, and it probably is, 30 minutes in, you say, right, there needs to be some sort of not an interval, but at least be something to kind of, just to get people energized, to keep the focus high and the mood high.
Yeah, do whatever you can to get people. Movement is what we're created for. So the more we can move, again, the brain gets stimulated, and we get stimulated to do stuff, and then we can just come back in. So make it as interesting, 3-dimensional as possible, and get people back into them. That's what I do now, as much as a dance break. That's a really good idea. Yeah.
I'm just
don't ask
us
to stand up now, please.
But the poor students who have 3-hour lectures, I'm just thinking there, like, that must be heavy on their bodies and their mood, and you can see why this event was advertised to thousands of students, and you can see just the appetite sometimes isn't there for people because they're maybe not managing themselves. And I think maybe in a shared approach that maybe the people facilitating, if it's a lecturer, if it's a support staff like myself, if it's, you know, anyone hosting a meeting, if it's Rita here, Sean, whoever it might be, probably have to factor that in, because literally 3 hours is probably, it's impossible to teach that or to be taught or to learn in that environment. You know?
I've actually got some, last week, someone emailed me about this new technology, that this is for Rita and Sean actually. And I was blown away by how phenomenal it actually goes. It takes the emphasis of Zoom, takes the real world class, how we teach in the real world. It's called class.com. Have a look at it. It blew me away. I signed up for a demo because it's phenomenal. It's like the real world teaching, but online, but uses Zoom functionality. It's incredible. So have a look at that. I've got no invested interest in it, but it's really, really good. Takes it up to another level on the virtual world.
I might try that break dancing class you're talking about there, Leona. Dance break. I'm sorry. Is it break dancing or dance break?
It can be whatever you want. I'm preparing the music as we speak.
Does it matter? Will it really matter, Adam?
I hope not. I don't know if anyone else has any other questions.
How often do you recommend going into the ventral vagal
just for a couple of minutes.
Oh, sorry, Brandon.
How often would you recommend going into ventral vagal states, like the expressing yourself, like the loud sighs, the touch, stretch? Would you recommend them trying to do them, say, before meetings and every kind of before a break to get those kind of happy endorphins going?
Yeah. So have a look at a video from Amy Cuddy. She talks about the Wonder Woman pose. So the Wonder Woman pose is this, where you stand up and you do that, and you have your shoulders back. And a lady called Linda Carter back in the 80s. I'm sure Sean knows who she is. Incredible.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say. I bet I know who you're talking about. All right.
So Amy Cuddy, she's a behavioral scientist, but she talks about the power of posture, the power of how we can stand. It's incredible. But have a look at it. It's one of the most viewed TEDx talks out there. It's one of the top 2 or 3, it's got millions of views. But she talks about that and how we need to stretch as human beings. We need to breathe as human beings. And the more we do that, the better that we're going to be. And so, again, it's all about movement.
Yeah, because I currently work a bit with Patrick Boland. Do you know him, out in Greystones? He's done a TED Talk as well. And he's gone through some of the states with me and stuff. And he's been very good. And I found, like, I have sales experience. So the whole thing you were saying, like, listen twice and talk once, like build a rapport, understand why that person is talking to you. So you can mold your product/answer around them instead of trying to sell them or have the answer. You need to mold it to the individual. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I found this talk very good. I enjoyed it.
You're absolutely right. When it's all about them and the questions that you do ask, but have a look at literal listening as opposed to active listening. And when I got you to all speak at the same time, that's passive listening, because we're not actually focusing on anything, because we're too busy in our own heads thinking about the next question that we're going to ask. And that's not the right way of doing it. So literal listening just takes a little bit more practice to do. So thanks for the question anyway. Thank you.
Any other questions on the floor? Any other questions? Okay, as I said at the very outset, go and listen to Jason's podcast. Go and have a look, check them out, or follow him on Twitter, whatever. It's really, really interesting stuff there. Again, the idea of just business and comedy is just a fantastic kind of idea, and we can all do it, a smile now and again. All right. So go and check out his social media activity. Again, really, really excellent work he's doing there. And again, well done on being recognized last year as being one of a leading trainer and coach by your peers, Jason. So well done.
Thank you for that. I put some links into the chat as well, so people can follow from there.
Okay, on behalf of everyone, Jason, thank you very much for joining us today. As I said, it's been a great pleasure. It's great to see you again, and thank you for coming back to the DBS family and sharing your experience. It's great to see you making great strides in this space, and just sharing some simple things with us that just really will help us think going forward over the next week or two. So big an impact. And again, as I said, check out Jason's material in the social media platforms, and I think you'll be surprised at the quality of work he's actually producing out there. Okay, so again, on our reactions, why don't we just give him a really good proper applause? Okay, thank you, rather than this virtual stuff. All right, thank you very much. That's great. Okay, Adam, do you want to continue on? Pedro's here, and
yeah,
stand up and dance for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, I don't know.
We'll keep going. Yeah, okay. We'll keep
going. But, it's probably best to put a soldier on.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem at all.
I'm gonna have to perfect the technique to do the exercises and so on that doesn't disrupt the flow. I suppose that's the sweet spot of running, I suppose, an event like this. Maybe Jason will have some insights. Maybe there's any quick energizers that you might have that you could perhaps implement before we get going, or maybe Pedro does. I don't know.
I was gonna say, Adam, buy a book if you have about $18 or so. The best book I have ever bought around minding yourself physically, mentally, and every other way. It's called The 4-Pillar Plan by a guy called Dr. Ranjan Chatterjee. He gives you what I call a 5-minute workout plan. Now, I can work with that.
Sounds like the right kind of plan, Pedro. 5 minutes.
Literally a few stretches, a few squats, a few very simple things that you can build through your daily routine. And that would increase your flexibility, would increase everything. So very simple. That's what I love about that book. Very simple, but it works.
Okay, and that's what it's all about now. It's peak performance for industry. It's peak performance for people in every kind of shape or form. So that's, yeah. Could you, I might fire that into the chat there. So it's the four pillars, is it?
4-pillar plan.
4-pillar plan.
Yeah, I put it in.
Good stuff. We'll probably fire it away then. I don't know if Rita or anyone else wants to introduce, perhaps Pedro or
up to you guys.
Or Sean.
Sorry, no, it's okay. I just jumped onto another connection there. Something happened there. Anyway, Pedro. I was just about to ask you. Thank you very much to put it into the chat. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll push on. Firstly, Pedro, thanks a million for joining us. You're very good. It's a great pleasure to have you here. You know, I've known Pedro for a long number of years, and I had the pleasure of him lecturing me out in UCD Smurfit Business School many years ago, and I was always impressed with his session. So it's absolutely fantastic to come this full circle with you today. So thank you very much for joining us. Pedro, in his day job, he's head of leadership development in AIB, where he leads the design and implementation of enterprise-wide leadership development initiatives. So he's, you know, a tremendously responsible job with the AIB banking group. But he has also massive experience in leadership with Fortune 100 and 500 companies. I think, if I'm wrong or right, please, Pedro, just PwC. Again, I've met you via the PwC route, IBM and Deloitte. So again, some really strong companies there. And in the UK, with consultancy firms Penna and Prospectus, and you also had your own consultancy business on the side of that. Also, you were a program director with the Irish Management Institute. Okay, so you're obviously highly regarded up there, I know, in the program that you're running. So well done on that. You're also president of the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. So again, you've a very full agenda, and I know, as I said, we're very happy to have you here today. I know from dealing with you in the past that you're very strong about leadership, and you're very strong in the context of, you know, the difference between success and failure with leadership. It can be just having a strong leader. And I think having a strong leader, and hopefully you might share a little bit with us today, what you believe a strong leader actually is, and particularly with the environment that we've been in today. All right. So again, I look forward to hearing you talk about that. You're a graduate of Minnesota State University, isn't that correct, Pedro?
Yeah.
And you hold an MBS in Management and Organization Studies from the University College, UCD Dublin, obviously. So again, extensive experience, fantastic role within AIB, great organization, again, has many challenges, obviously, over the last number of years, and obviously has major challenges ahead with the digital revolution, etc. So Pedro is leading the way within that organization. As I said, it's a great pleasure to have you here today, Pedro. So I'll hand over to you if you'd like to share some thoughts with us.
Yeah, Sean, thank you so much. Delighted to be here, and really pleased to be here. So thanks for having me. I'm going to share a few thoughts, and hopefully you can pick one thing that makes sense to you and it helps you in your career as a student, or it maybe help you at home, or it might help you in any way. But I'm looking for you to take one thing that you're going to take away, you're going to put into practice, and it's going to help you to have a better life, a happier life, a more resilient life. I don't care what it is, but something good for you, right? That's the trick. That's what I'm trying to do. Sean forgot to mention one thing about me, and that is that I am a Spanish man with a twist. What's the twist? The twist is that I'm married to a Cork woman for 20 years, okay? So
Pedro, I knew you'd mention it. That's why I left it to you.
One thing that has been very interesting listening to the previous conversations is how long is too long? And I want you to question that, right? Because I read The Lord of the Rings, and that is, and I also read War and Peace by Tolstoy, and I couldn't put the book down. I wanted to read more, even though the book is about 1,000 pages long. So sometimes 2 pages of crap is too long, right? So the length of anything, it doesn't mean anything. It's about making things meaningful, making them impactful, connecting with the audience, all that good stuff that you heard before from Jason. It's all about landing with the audience, connecting, and all that good stuff. Okay, so long or short, anyway, you work it out. The other thing that you mentioned, Adam, is the whole thing of self-care. I look at the Central Statistics Office and how COVID is impacting on people. And let's be honest, there's a lot of good things about COVID. You know, it's allowing us to spend more time with the loved ones. It's allowing us to connect more with nature. There's some good things. But yes, there are some challenges. And what the CSO has found is that women and men are being impacted not great in certain ways, and particularly women, okay? So women are being impacted even more heavily, more negatively than men through COVID. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But what the research found out is that people now are more likely to smoke more, to drink more, and to eat more junk food. So the first thing I would say to you is watch out for your routine and what do you do, and make sure that you cut down on things that you really don't need. And take care of yourselves. Self-care, some ladies have self-care. Self-care is not only good for you, but self-care is the difference between good leaders and great leaders. The great leaders are those people that protect time to mind themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And you can see those people, they beam energy. So when you talk about what makes a great leader, great leaders are made out of 2 things. Now you can read more, right? And by the way, there's thousands of books on it. But for me, it's 2 things. One of them is direction, clarity of direction. We are living with too much uncertainty, too much lack of clarity, too much unpredictability. So I want leaders that give people direction. This is what good looks like. And I need our leaders to say, this is what our strategy is about. This is what our cultural ambition is about. This is what we expect out of the leaders. Keep clarity, because once people have clarity, that guides performance. And the second thing is clarity of direction and energy. And that goes back to a leader. It has to give people energy. There is a word that we use a lot that is called inspiration. Inspiration comes from the Latin inspirare, to breathe life into. How wonderful is that word? Do we inspire people? Do we make people believe? Do we energize people? Or do we suck the life out of people? And that goes as a person, as a loved one, as a partner, as a lecturer, as a head of leadership. Do we give energy or do we suck energy? You cannot give energy if you have no energy. So you need to make sure that you build that energy. And here is the first thing I want to ask you to do. Think about how do you use your energy? Because with time, you know, it's fixed, but energy, you can grow it, you can develop it, but how do you use your energy? Do you use your energy in those things that give you meaning, in those things that make you happy, in those things that get the best out of you? Or are you wasting your energy on other things? Let me give you an example. Netflix. I mean, listen, come here now. I love Netflix as much as you do, right? It's nothing to do with age. And I'm watching this thing, Your Honor, or Your Honor, I think it's called. Anyway, I could be watching it all day. You can just turn it off and next and next and next. Look, a little bit is okay, but too much is not okay. So too much Netflix is not good. Too much manchego cheese is not good. Too much Rioja wine is no good, okay? So you just need to be mindful of that, okay? Right, so what do we have in the store? I have just a few slides, okay? Let's get quickly through them and then we can have a good chat. But let me show you what I put together just just to share a few thoughts that hopefully will be helpful to you, okay? And this is all about leadership and innovation. So let's get going, right? Asking the right questions, not just listening, but asking the right questions is critical to become a good leader or drive innovation. So in the chat box, put actually, let's chat, right? What is a shoebox for? This is not a tricky question. To put your shoes in there, right? That's not very helpful. Okay, right. Tell me, what could you use a shoebox for? Any ideas? There you go, here we come. Let me just look at the chat box. Okay, shoes, random things. Okay, what can you use a shoebox for? Can you put a few things on the chat box? Put the paper, huh? Shoe shining stuff. A present wrapping, your heavy bank statements. I love it. You never look at those. Storage. Wow. As you can see, if I ask the question, what is a shoebox for? You get one answer, and that's just to push us in. If you ask the question slightly differently, you can use it for seating. Oh, now you're really creative. They told me that you were a very creative group. As you can see, by asking the question in a different way, you get many different answers. Let me ask you the question at different answers. If you go for another question here, how many uses can you think for a shoebox? And you will get another lots of things. And if I ask you the question, can you think of 100 uses for a shoebox? I bet you can come up with 100. So what I would say to you is, leaders are people that are great at asking great questions. And if you want to create innovation, it's about asking the right questions. Here is the first idea. Start a question logbook. Or write down the best questions that you have ever been asked and log them and write them down, because one of the best things is to ask good questions. Right. So a few context slides. What does innovation look like in organizations? And more importantly, what is the role of the leader? So here is the first thing. The first thing is COVID presents an opportunity for innovation. The sadness is that a lot of leaders don't feel equipped, or they don't feel they have the time or the resources or the attention required to give it to innovation. If you look at the most innovative enterprises at the moment, well, surprise, surprise, is the whole area of what? Is the whole area of drug production, drug manufacturing, healthcare, right? And you can see why, because we have a pandemic, which is a health pandemic. So the organization that will be pushed to produce innovation are organizations that are in the health space. Now, having said that, if you look at the way that before and after in terms of innovation had dropped dramatically. Why? Because people are trying to cope with COVID. Organizations are trying to stay relevant, are trying to survive. So sometimes when you're in survival mode, the last thing that you do is what? Is innovation. But as I said before, if you look at, let me just see, here we go. If you look at the organizations that has increased actually the focus to innovation are actually in the whole pharma and medical product devices, which is, as I say, is no surprise. Now, more interestingly, okay, there is a huge opportunity, and that is that companies that invest in innovation outperform their peers during the recovery. So although it's maybe counterintuitive to be investing in innovation at a time when we are actually trying to survive, what the market will tell us is that those organizations that get through the crisis quickly and start innovating quickly as soon as possible, and they move from survival into recovery, into actually creativity, they tend to come out of the crisis in a much more successful way. Here are some of the things that create highly innovative companies. Let's look at the middle ones, right? The first thing is top management. If you don't have the right management in a company, forget it, it's game over. People doing companies what they see at the top. So if you have senior leaders that reward, recognize innovation, they like ideas, they like creativity, that is the culture they create, and that is the behavior that they will create. So the senior leaders in an organization are critical. The other thing is that creativity doesn't happen in silos. Innovation doesn't happen in silos. So organizations that are highly bureaucratic, they struggle with innovation. Why? Because there's no cross-functionality of ideas. There is no cross-functionality of work. And there is no empowerment of people. So the key thing is, if you want to get empowerment, the right leadership, cross-functional team or collaboration, and empower your people to do the right thing. They are the kind of the three things. And around that, that will create the right culture. The leaders will set the right procedures, and no doubt your strategy will have some innovative practices and so on. So that's one model by budding, quote unquote, whatever. The next one is by Accenture. And if you look at Accenture's model for innovation, they actually cover very similar things. The innovation ecosystem, which is the innovation ecosystem, which is all the stuff that we see before, and the leadership and the culture. The one thing that they have here is also having the right technology and so on. Well, they're a technology company, so they would say that, wouldn't they? The other interesting thing is that what I like about this particularly is the ability to scale. To me, that's the biggest difference between highly innovative, successful companies and those that aren't. If you look at Zara is one of the most successful worldwide manufacturing of clothes companies in the world, owned by a Spanish guy. It's a pity that he wasn't part of my family, damn you. Anyway, missed opportunity. But this guy, what Zara are great at is at looking out in scanning, scouting the market. And they see young people dressed up, wearing things that nobody else wears. So a bag with glass on it, whatever it is. And what they do, they scout the market, they pick those ideas, they bring them in, they run a pilot. They put it into one shop, a small pilot, a small risk. And once they prove the concept, they are the best company in the world at scaling fast those things and bringing it to all the shops and make it available worldwide to a worldwide audience. So the ability to scale ideas is critical. If you look at the 8 Essentials of Innovation by McKinsey, let me put particular attention on the one that we already mentioned, which is the whole area of senior executives and culture. And that is the area that I want to focus on, okay? I will share this slide, so don't worry about it. But the area that I want to highlight is the importance of culture and senior leadership. And if you look at the most important ingredients for innovation, according to PwC, a strong visionary business leadership and the right culture to foster support and innovation. So the evidence is clear. We need the right leaders, the right leadership that encourages a culture of risk-taking, welcoming mistakes as learning opportunities, making it safe for people to do the right thing, to be creative, to innovate, and to try out things without a fear that their hand is going to be slapped or they're going to be fired. And let me give you a couple of companies where I think there's one more thing, which is the whole area of purpose. Companies that have a clear purpose and much more innovative. So if you look at Walt Disney, right? Walt Disney, we all know Walt Disney, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. So the quick story is about 3 daughters that went to the theme park, and I have 3 girls, so I have girls, so I can say this, right? You can imagine a parent and coming, and a wife coming with 3 daughters. The daughters will be going nuts. They throw the dolls on the floor. They go to the theme park to see Minnie and Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse. But when they come back, they see that the dolls have been picked up, put in the bed. And they seem to be having like a tea party. Well, the daughters were going bananas. Look at the dolls, they're having a tea party. Excited as hell. Anyway, the following day, they go back to the park. They come back, and the dolls are back in the bed, but this time they're playing cards. Well, the daughters go nuts. The daughters were more interested in going back to the room to see what the dolls were doing than actually going to the theme park. How amazing is that a story where it doesn't take a lot to create moments of magic, which is the purpose of Walt Disney. You want there to create memories for families. And once you have that purpose, once everybody that works in your company, they know what you are there for. Everybody does things that don't require a lot of money, don't require a lot of approvals, yet it can make an absolute wonderful memory forever for those girls. And as you can see, not a lot of money, it's just a clear purpose. Let me give you another one. Anybody knows who that guy in the picture is? Oh, Jesus. Anybody knows who that guy in the picture is? I hope you do, because you're young people. Come on now. Don't let yourselves down. Who is that guy? He's a rapper anyway. No idea. Okay, I'll give it to you. Okay, this guy is one of the main rappers in the world. Well, maybe for me, and as an old timer. This is Prince Harvey. Prince Harvey is an amazing rapper. Now, you have to get over all the F this, F that, and all of that kind of language. So don't play it when you have young kids around it. But this guy had a dream. His dream was to write music, and he had no money. He had nothing. He had an old computer that got stolen. So most people would have given up on their dreams and ambitions. But this guy walked into an Apple store and he started creating a music in one of the Apple computers in GarageBand in the application. But what was happening is when you create music or anything and you come back the following day, the computers are packed up, so all the music was deleted. Until one of the store managers came to him and he says, look, I quite like the sound of your music. And he started talking to him and he said, look, I'm trying to create an album, but the music keeps being deleted. He said, I'll tell you a trick. When you create the music, put it in the garbage can and that won't get deleted. And then at the following day, you can bring it back out again and continue creating music. This guy created a whole rap album at that store. And you know what that album was called? Fat Ass. I love it. Only the other rapper you can get away with that kind of name, huh? Fat Ass. PH, by the way. And what does Fat Ass stands for? Prince Harvey at an Apple store in Soho. Isn't that amazing? A rapper creating music with your, your computer, with your tools, and naming it after one of your stores. This is all over the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. This is a real story. And again, is when you have a company that has a clear purpose, how it helps people be innovative, be creative, and do what's good for customers as well as for organizations. So what is the purpose of the organization? And equally, what is your own purpose as a person? And how do they connect? Because when you work for a company, which purpose connects with your personal purpose, that's where the magic happens. Okay, so here is a few things that I collated in terms of what do we want senior leaders to do? And this is based on a number of sources that I put there at the bottom. But look, role modeling is the key. Encouragement of the right behaviors and role modeling. Helping people connect, but not connect people like-minded people, connect people from diverse backgrounds. If you go to an organization, we always have coffee with the same people. We always have dinner with the same people. We're always dancing with the same people. We always hang out with the same people. So what do you get? You get the sameness, the same vanilla, which, by the way, I love vanilla. Nothing wrong with vanilla. But the vanilla that we sell is the vanilla with the Skittles, those things that are different, those things that are unique, those things that no other vanilla has, that can differentiate your vanilla from anybody else's vanilla. So you need to find every week, connect with somebody who is different to you, who is diverse, who thinks very differently. We tend to think of people like that as annoying. The more annoying somebody is to you is probably because they're very different to you. It's not that they're nasty, it's not that they're annoying, it's just very different to you. So you need to connect with people that are different to you, that they have a different viewpoint, that they speak different to you, that they look different to you. And that's how you create diverse thought. And by the way, companies that have a proper diversity and inclusion, they deliver better results than any other company. And that's all over the news. And that is fact. That's a fact. Let people get on with it. Autonomy but support. But just set boundaries, right? So I'll tell you, this is the playground. So as long as you stay in the playground, you can play any sport. But if you step out of the playground, that's when obviously there's penalties. So set the boundaries, but allow people to be creative within the boundaries and experiment and be messy and do crazy stuff, but with a purpose in mind and with the right boundaries. And you have to measure, we know that. Tolerance for ambiguity, tolerance for failure, we know that. Be open to new ideas. Sometimes the most crazy ideas are the ones that are the best ideas. So don't disregard ideas. One thing is idea generation, and the other one is idea validation. The behaviors that are needed for idea creation are not the same that you need for idea validation or challenging. I have a lot of people in my business that are great at challenging ideas because that's what they get paid for. We that are good at generating ideas because bankers are not necessarily idea generators. So I have people that are great at critiquing ideas because a lot of people come with business ideas that they need to be funded by the bank. So we are great at challenging those ideas. And that's great because that's what a bank is meant to do. But when I look for innovation within the bank, I also need an idea generator, an idea incubator. And that's where I look at grads to bring that energy, to bring that difference, to do the hackathons, to help us reinvent the brand of the future, reinvent the bank of the future. And that's where you guys would play a critical role within the bank. And by the way, when we bring people to the bank, we want them to, yes, listen, but come here, don't become invisible. In a big organization, you can become invisible. So it's about knowing when to listen, but also being able to put your voice. If I don't hear your voice, you become invisible in a big organization. And that's the last thing you want to do. You want to be visible for the right things, because that's, once you become visible, that's more likely that then I can put you in a high potential program. And that means that your career will be fast tracked more quickly. Again, it's not visible for the sake of visible, but it's visible at the right times for the right reasons. And by the way, I want you to challenge the status quo and challenge the norms. There is too many norms and too many old things, right? I don't pay my leaders to keep the norms. I pay my leaders to challenge the norms. Let me give you an example. I used to work in the post office in Spain, in the sorting office. There was no computers at the time, but I had more energy than I had now. So when they give me all the bags of posts, I was like John Wayne. And guess what happened to John Wayne? Somebody in the post office came to me and he said, "Hey, Johnny, chill out. We need to have posts for the whole day." And then you have a choice. Johnny has a choice. Johnny has the choice to conform with the norm or continue with Johnny. Which one do you think is the easiest one? Is to conform with the norm. So Johnny slowed down a little bit, but it still was going too fast. So he got another tap on the shoulder. Until what? Until he conformed with the norm. Now, the norm works in two ways. If you could be above the norm will try to drag you down. If you are below the norm will try to bring you up. Because the day that you don't sort your post and your mates have to stay late because you didn't sort your post, your mates will come to you as well and say, "Hey, Nicholas, you didn't do your post properly today, mates. This is the second time. And by the way, I have a family at home, and because of you, I cannot go there. So what is Nicholas going to do? Jesus, I don't want to be the person that is letting the team down." So an organization will run by itself purely on norms without any management. So the question is, why do you have management? Well, you have management to challenge the norms, to become more productive, to become more inclusive, to become better, to deliver better customer outcomes. But you don't pay people to keep the norm. It's about incremental, sustainable gains. You talk about resilience a lot, right? This is for me, and I know you can use it for different things, but if you want to build resilience, build these 8 habits. Self-care. There's an article in the Harvard Business Review called "The Corporate Athlete." The Corporate Athlete by the Energy Project. Google the Energy Project, HBR, the Corporate Athlete, and it's the best article about minding yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Physically, you know what to do, and don't kill yourselves, right? I mean, listen, these are simple things. I have started walking 10,000 steps a day, and I have given up a few of the carbs. And what do I mean by that? Not drinking during the week and eating less pasta and cheese. Just doing that, I have actually made a remarkable improvement on my weight, on everything. So you need to track your improvements, because if you say, "I'm going to lose half a stone" or whatever, once you meet that target, you feel great. So you want to go for the next one and the next one. But it is a small, incremental, sustainable gains. So that's what the life is about. Curiosity. Without curiosity, you get nowhere. The biggest asset of anybody is curiosity. Why? Because curiosity makes us curious in terms of trying to understand, trying to see, trying to put our antenna out and see what the hell is going on in the world. Think about the first time that you met the person of your dreams. Well, hello, baby. How are you? What do you like? What is your favorite movie? What's your favorite color? Where do you like to go? It was all about them. You were so curious. Curiosity is key for relationships, for innovation, for absolutely everything. And connecting, I'm not going to go too much in there, because in fairness, Jason has talked a lot about the importance of deep relationships rather than transactional relationships. We are becoming too transactional. And by the way, transacting with people is okay up to a point. But the moment that they find somebody cheaper, quicker, and faster to transact with, they'll leave you. And then you get up one day and you say, "Jesus, where is Mary? Where is John?" Well, they found somebody quicker, cheaper, and faster to transact with. So bye-bye, Pedro. You need to spend time developing relationships, gang. It's not just about transacting if they want to be meaningful. Clarity. Look, we need clarity. So you step away from the game to reflect. What's the game about? What's the game plan? What does success looks like for me in my life? What gives me meaning? What is my legacy? What do I want to be known for? Once you know what good looks like and you are ready for the game, you get stuck on the game and you give it socks and you become courageous and commitment. You have to be courageous and have commitment. My granny said that the only reason why she married my grandfather was because he kept asking her. I think they call that sexual harassment these days, but that's not the point of that example, right? The point of that example is once you know what you really, 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 really want, you're not going to be successful the first time probably. Because why? Because to be successful, you're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of people that are going to try to knock you from the way. They're going to tell you that you're not good enough. They're going to get on the way of you being there. But you know what you do? You keep at it. Every time that you get no, take that as an opportunity for feedback. Welcome it and say, okay, I got no this time. What do I need to do to get a yes next time? You didn't get that job. Don't sulk, don't moan. Appreciate the opportunity you give me. Can I have 15 minutes of your time to get feedback? I really want to get a yes next time because I really want to work for your company because the purpose you have, because the mission, the work you're doing in sustainability. Who's going to say no to that? And if they say no, call me because I'll give you 15 minutes. And once you know what you need to do next, give it again, another go. You don't get it, and that's okay. Go again until you get it. And I'm telling you, if you really know what you want and what you love, it's not going to be easy. But because it's not easy, it doesn't mean it's not meaningful. It's not about easy, it's about meaning. Compassion. Look, give yourself compassion. We're our worst enemies, right? The main thing getting in terms of your potential, achieving your potential, is your interferences. And the main interference is our self-limiting beliefs and thoughts. We are too bloody self-critical. How do you talk to yourselves? Oh, Jesus, I'm from Spain. Nobody likes Spanish people. Oh, I am over 30. Nobody likes old people. You're over 50 now. Don't tell anybody. Like we are terrible. We're so uncompassionate with ourselves. Here is what I want to say to you. If you were to talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself, would you still have a best friend? So all I'm asking you is give yourself the same compassion that you would give to your loved ones. That's all. No more, no less, just the same compassion. And then challenge. Again, it feels cozy to be in the cozy place. The comfort zone feels great, but nothing grows in the comfort zone. If you go 2 weeks without feeling a stretch, you're not growing, you're not developing, you're wasting an opportunity. Think of a rubber band. If you stretch a rubber band a little bit but let go, what happens? It goes back to the comfort zone. If you stretch a rubber band too much, what happens? It snaps because it's gone to what they call the out of control zone. You stretch yourself too much. So the trick is a small, incremental, sustainable stretches and hold. And then that becomes a habit. And then when you let it go, that has become the new normal. Another stretch, hold, feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the stretch, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And once you're there, release the new normal. Before you know, your new normal becomes huge and you're more impactful, more high performing, more confident. You own your space, you own your life, you own your happiness. They're the people that just shine. You see them and you just go, wow, top of their game. All right, a couple of more thoughts. Look, the way that we are and the way we behave, you can do a lot of personality and styles, questionnaires. Different types of people are more creative than other people. And that is okay, because in organizations, we need people that are good at creation, and then we need people that are good at challenging. So if you look at the right-hand side of the thing, they're the creative people, they're the innovative people, they're the trusting people, they're the collaborative people, they're the people that are through empathy, they like to be connecting, they extend trust without anything. They're just that kind of people. And then you have the ones in the left who are more cynical, more skeptical. Show me the evidence, show me the money. Equally as good, because you need a little bit of everything. If you have too much of anything, it's no good. If you have too many ideas, but they're not profitable, you go to business. If you're just focusing on profit and process, but you have no new ideas, you lose your mojo. Somebody else will get your place in the marketplace. So it's about welcoming that diversity of thought, but more importantly, knowing where you stand, what are you comfortable with? And equally, what are you less comfortable with? And making a decision as to whether, are you happy with that? You want to change anything? You want to make any movements? And so on and so forth. I am a high influence, all about energy, passion, but I knew I needed more reflective time. So one of my coaches now is a mindfulness coach, and he is so bloody annoying. He tells me, Pedro, you talk too fast. Okay, Grattan. Pedro, you walk too fast. Okay, I get you. Pedro, why do you, listen. and I tell you, I'm a better person for it now. You talk about mindfulness before. Let me give you a mindfulness, something very simple. I got a best present ever. I got an olive tree. That gives me meaning. Why? Because when I look at that olive tree, it brings me back to my youth. When I was little, collecting olives with my granddad in Spain. It was bloody hot. I used to hate every moment of it, collecting those flipping olives from the flipping olive tree with 38 degrees outside. But now when I look at that olive tree, it brings me back to those days and the happy days with my granddad, sneaking a little bit of his wine when he wasn't looking, having a little bit of bread with him. Magic. I feel for 5 minutes of just magic. And I actually feel the heat on my bones, even though it's bloody cold in Ireland. Anyway, it's special. Right. Before you go to any meeting, check your mood and your energy. Are you in the right place? If you are in the right-hand side, particularly at the bottom, which are in a relaxed and a happy place, that's when you are creative. You know, in the shower, woohoo, you're singing, nobody's listening, but you're chill, you're relaxed. That's when the best ideas come from. If you're too much on the left, you are too stressed, you are too anxious. You can be, you can be creative, but you cannot be as creative if you are stressed. You cannot be as high-performing if you are on the left. So I want you to reflect, what puts you on the left? What triggers you to the left? What triggers you to the right? How much time do you spend on the left? How much time do you spend on the right? Who are the people that help you be in the right? Who are the people that suck the life out of you and put you on the left? And it's all about doing that thinking in a compassionate way, in a non-judgmental way. Because it is okay not to be okay. It is okay to have a bad day. It is okay to be in a bad mood. But the longer you stay on the left-hand side, that's not good for you, for your outcomes, for your mental health. So it is good that you check in with yourself and make sure that on a weekly basis, you try to spend as much time as possible on the right-hand side rather than the left-hand side. And again, your attitude. When you get up in the morning, put your attitude like you put your clothes. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to try to be happy. I'm going to try to be proactive. I'm going to try to have a positive mental attitude. I'm going to try to be the best thing I can be. And you know what's going to happen as soon as you start the day? There's going to be people, there's going to be processes, there's going to be anything that is going to try to knock that attitude out of you. And look, that is okay. What is your trick? Your trick is to own it and try not to let other things get in the way of a good attitude. So just watch your attitude. And we are almost there. So mindset, determination we talked about. Let me just give you one quick other idea and then I pause for questions, okay? Because I'm keen to get you talking. I have four kids. Let me talk about the two teenagers, right? I have one who is 6'4". He's got the body of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He doesn't have a 6-pack. I think it's a 10-pack. He's got the perfect bikini body. You know, he just can walk on the beach and all the ladies. I don't know who the father is, okay? But that's another program. He definitely doesn't get it from me. And then you have the other son, right? Which is my son, my size, a small guy, with body, definitely not a 6-pack or a 10-pack. But when he plays rugby, he comes out of the pitch and he said, "Dad, how did I do?" I said, you were brilliant. And he said, "Dad, cut the crap. How did I do?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "How many tackles did I do?" "Well, 3 tackles. "How many did I do the last game?" 6. "That's not good, that is it?" "Oh, yeah, no, that's not good." He said, "And how many positive tackles? When you tackle somebody and push them back, you didn't do any today. How many did I do the last day?" "You did about 2 or 3. That was a crap game." There is a lesson on growth mindset. Somebody who is looking for feedback, somebody who is looking for a stretch, somebody who is looking for being the best that he can be at every stage. And he doesn't like people fudging it. He doesn't like people telling him that he's great when he's not great. He likes honest. He likes radical candor. He likes people telling it as it is because they know that that's the best that, to improve his game. Now, imagine if you put that mindset in the body of the first guy. That's an Irish international. Must go again, 3rd time lucky, You get the body, you get the mindset. Happy days. Do you have the mindset? It's all about the mindset. 70% is mindset. And that's it. Okay, listen, just in summary, don't expect anybody to make you happy. Don't expect anybody to make you resilient. Don't expect anybody to write your life. Don't expect anybody to give you what you don't have. We need to own ourselves, our career, our happiness. It all starts with us. And then once you own it, then look for people, surround yourself with people that are supporting, that are helpful, that are inspirational to you, that will help you when you need them. And once you own it and you surround yourself with good people, that is the recipe for success. And again, expect to fall off the bike, expect to fail, but take those as learning opportunities to become better tomorrow. and look for those incremental sustainable gains. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Okay, Pedro, thank you very much for a fantastic presentation. Thank you very much. And again, such, genuine, authentic, real insights, none of, not just some theoretical stuff from a book. So really, thank you for sharing that with us. I'll open it up to the floor. Just if anybody has a specific question they'd like to ask Pedro, please.
Just to touch on the point where you were saying, like, waking up and saying you will, like, I will hope, or I try. Or you were saying, like, I try, have a good day. What's your thoughts on changing slight words as well to be more, say, demanding? Like one I did for myself is, instead of saying hope or try, I'll always change it for, like, I will, or I, like, so it's an action word instead of like, oh, I hope to one day do well. Like, I will do well. Changing those little action words. Is there any exercises you recommend around them?
Brandon, you gave your own answer, right? It's just use be very careful with your language. Are you using empowering language, or are you using victim language? So just do an analysis of the language you use during the day. Is it a victim language, or is it an empowering language? Language is critical, because language is critical. So use the right language, right? So that's the answer. Look at your language and make sure that you use empowering language. I will. Now, because you use that empowering language, expect that, look, I will try, think that being okay, being proactive, being collaborative, being humble, being respectful, they're human rights. They're human. That's what human beings were created to be. So you're not being overly demanding with yourself. You're just saying, look, I'm getting up to try to have a good day and try to have a positive contribution to the world. And to your point, use empowering language. But keep in mind that no matter what you do, you have better days and you have worse days. But take every day as an opportunity to learn and to say, how can I show up better tomorrow? How can I even be better tomorrow in a compassionate way? But yes, to your point, language is critical. Write down the language that you use. Listen out for the language that your people around you use. Because if you surround yourself with people that use very negative language, it's just the best advice I was given. My first mentor in Telecom, Aaron, he knows my age. He said, Pedro, stay away from negative people.
One of my first mentors was from AIB, actually, Mark Colton. Do you know him?
No.
Leading assets.
What part, Mark?
I think it's South Dublin.
Okay.
Mark, he's head of asset-based lending with area north and west of AIB.
Look him up. No, it's great. I mean, I'm delighted. To be honest with you, I always tell my leaders that leaders grow leaders. So anything that they can do to grow other leaders, that's what leadership is about. I wouldn't, if it was my bank, I wouldn't let anybody get promoted unless they can give me examples where they have helped somebody else become a better leader, get promoted, even get somebody promoted above their level, because that will show me that they're more interested in the company rather than their own self-being. But thanks for sharing that, Brandon. Thank you.
Pedro, it just strikes me that I think our own intuitive sense is the larger an organization gets, the more it's inclined to dampen down this fantastic, I'm going to change the world and all the attitudes you're talking about and innovation, etc. So how would, again, not specifically AIB, but how do the large organizations create that culture? I mean, it has to come from the top, right? It's got to be, the leader has to show the same characteristics and traits that you're talking about. Is that correct?
Well, here's what I would say is, I think working for a larger organization, it gives you more opportunities to change the world because they have a scale. So it depends how you look at things, like everything else. And the view that you hold of things determines what you do, determines your outcome. But I don't think so. I think big organizations, what you will find is that there are pockets of everything. There are pockets of absolute outstanding best practices. And the trick for the senior leaders is to identify those pockets of best practice, pull them out, and then scale them across the organization. But equally, and that means innovation, that means best in class, everything. And then there are other pockets that are just need, it's almost like a surgeon. You just need to go there and cut it out, because if you don't cut it out, it can kill the whole system. So in big organizations, you will find that you get a bit of everything. I think one thing that I have learned is that although I'm always encouraging our leaders to look externally for best practices, let's not forget that there's already a lot of good things in our place. So tap onto that and scale it. So if you look at our digital platforms, we have probably one of the best digital platforms in the country in terms of banking. So that's good. The challenge I pose my leaders now is, okay, so we have the best banking platform. I want you to compare now the best platform in comparison to the likes of Amazon, in the likes of PayPal, which are the disruptors. But there's a lot of things that we're doing well. Now, for me, I love leaders that say, look, even if it isn't broken, let's fix it anyway. There has to be a better way. We need more of that.
Thank you. Any other questions from the floor, please?
I had a question. What quality do you think maybe is lacking in leaders?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
That's a really good question, and that's what keeps me awake every day. What are the good things of my leaders, and what are things that I think could be better? And again, depending who you talk to, they'll give you their own answers, right? So I'll tell you. So, and this is actually good for you guys to think about, because as you become leaders, as you are leaders already within your own organizations, within your own networks, I get a lot of people that are great individual contributors. So I have people that are very bright, that they're technically very bright, who are great individual contributors. And there are organizations that will allow you to be a great individual contributor and become a technical expert and make a lot of money. I knew somebody in IBM who was a technical architect, didn't have anybody reporting to them, and they were making more money than the country manager or director at the time, who is the person that was leading the whole place with about 3,000 people. So that's one pathway. But what you will find is that a lot of organizations, you have to move from individual contributor to contributing through others. And that is a kind of a shift that a lot of people find very difficult doing. So be prepared for that. How will you prepare yourself to move from individual contributor to contributing through others? Because once you have a team, it's not about what I do individually, it's about what you do as how do you get your team engaged, the performance of your team rather than your own performance. And then the next step up is not about what you deliver with your team, but it's what you contribute to the whole enterprise. So it's not about your HR function or your finance function or your commercial function doing well. It's about somebody who is looking about what's best for the bank, what's best for the organization as a whole, rather than my own area. To answer your question, what do I think we need more? We need enterprise leaders, leaders that are always thinking about what's best for the organization, rather than their own individual silos. That's the first one. The second one is we need to allow leaders to stop doing and to start leading. So the second thing is I want leaders that grow leaders. And there are not enough of those people, because that's the soft stuff, coaching people, developing people, I'm telling you, for me, it's about that. It's about leaders that grow leaders. The third thing that I think people can really develop is the whole emotional intelligence stuff that we were talking about. That's another big gap. We think that we listen. We really don't. We think that we are great at empathizing some days. Emotionally intelligent leaders develop better results, have happier lives. There is a more direct correlation between emotional intelligence and success than intelligence and success. Now, don't get me wrong. You can be very emotionally intelligent, but I'm not saying that you need one or the other. You need both. So you need a lot of intellect, but also the emotional intellect. Those people that are clever here and are clever here, they're the leaders of the future. There's a great book by John Cutter, Changing the Hearts and the Minds of People. It's all about bringing people through change. And if you're in organizations, a lot of the times they try to influence your brain through data, through benchmarks, through examples. But that doesn't get you to change always behavior. Sometimes you have to get people to change behavior by tapping into the heart. Yeah. Let me give you an example, right? So when we were asking people to stop drink and driving, we put a lot of posters in the Wicklow roads, all the roads. drink and driving kills, 50 people killed in the Wicklow roads. What was that doing? It was challenging our cognitive processes, where they were saying driving too fast will actually kill people. It's not good for you. There were some people that thought that when they drank, they were better drivers. Crazy stuff. So it was challenging this, but some people still drove. So if you look at more recent acts, is the people, the guards going to the granny's house and saying, knock, knock, your son is being killed on a car accident. What is that doing? That's hitting you in the heart. So what they're trying to do is, by challenging your mind and challenging your heart, what they're hoping is that they create the right cognitive gap, dissonance, to help you to change behavior and stop drink and driving. But it is about connecting with the heart and the minds of people. There are the three.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Pedro, I had probably just a question as well. Obviously, in my own role, I'm working with a lot of students and, you know, aspiring kind of leaders and everything kind of in between. But a trend that I've noticed is the kind of polarizedness of kind of graduates and, you know, future leaders. And you have people who are, you know, highly motivated, highly capable, want to learn, want to, you know, make a difference for themselves and you know, get the best out of their college environment. And you have others who are just happy where they're at, and, you know, they don't really want to get out of their comfort zone. And I suppose they're operating in the same universe of business, or they're in the same project team. And I suppose it's interesting, because I liked what you said about, you know, you treat everyone, you know, be kind to yourself and treat others how you would treat yourself. And I'd be a bit tough on myself at times personally, like, you know, but that's how I, you know, because I'm trying to keep myself out of my comfort zone and so on. But I find when you treat others the way you treat yourself, it's not always a good thing, because others can't be there, or, you know, they can't kind of, their threshold is far lower. So I suppose I'd be interested to see if you come across anything like that, where maybe you're working with leaders who have a much lower threshold, and do you stay at your level, or do you just accept them for where they're at? And, you know, what's that like?
So Adam, think about compassion, right? So let me give you a rugby analogy, right? Brian O'Driscoll didn't play for the junior cup team. He was a late developer. He went through the whole school system. Nobody had a look at him. And yet he just, after that, he just went boom. So what is that saying to you? Is that saying to you that there is potential in all of us? We are all wonderful human beings, but there are different stages of our life. We have different predispositions. We have different journeys. And what makes to you at one point in your life, it might make no sense to me at that point in my life. Doesn't mean you're better or worse. It's just different. You have people that go through college and they fly through college, and then they sink in the business. There are people that sink in the business and then they survive in the other place. There are people that are happy all their life. It's just everything goes at a different stage in their life. What I would say to you is try to meet people where they are at, and always have your heart thinking what is best for that individual at that time. And as long as you are always thinking about what's best for them, not what's best for me, that's all you can do. And I have lots of examples where I had kids and leaders that for 2-3 years, they were invisible. And suddenly with COVID, they're just boom. And I say, Jesus, where is Iona? I never met Iona before. Where did she come from? Oh, she's in retail. How come that she was invisible? It could have been that it was a different time of their life. Maybe they were busy doing something else. Maybe, you never know, but now they're visible. So then you get curious and say, okay, how can we help that person to stay there? So it's a long answer to explain a very simple thing, which is everybody's life is different. Everybody's passion is different. Everybody's aspirations is different. Everybody's je ne sais quoi is different. No better or worse. It's just different. So don't get frustrated.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, think about parents that put sometimes, you know, we are highly successful parents, and we have kids, and we expect them to be equally as successful in life, in sports, in whatever else. That can put a huge pressure on those kids, unnecessary pressure to become a version of ourselves. That's terrible. Let children become the best version of themselves. Let human beings be the best version of themselves. The best person that you can be is you. Everybody else is taken. So just be you, you know, with the skill. And that's what you're doing in university. Just get all the skills that you can. Be prepared for the life. Life is tough. The world is a very nasty place at times. And, you know, but all you can do is keep yourself. And you know what? Here is my one thing that my father told me. He said, people can take your house. People can take your money. People can take a lot of your things. But the one thing that can never anybody take is your intellect, is your knowledge. So read everything, learn everything. Don't go to bed any day without learning something. Because learning is something that nobody can take. You can carry it everywhere. You don't need a passport. Nobody can steal it. It's all there. And yeah, focus on that. And what I would say to you that I was also told is read from Mother Teresa to Karl Marx. Read everything. Because nobody's that bad. Nobody's that good. Everybody just got a different viewpoint that at the time to them, it looked like the right thing. So be open to everything. Open your mind before you close it, as the paper says, and pick the nuggets that make sense to you, that connect with you, that connect with your values, and you know, every day try to be the best version of yourself.
Brilliant. Thanks, Pedro.
Thank you.
Pedro, one thing that just popped up now, just on my feed for the empowering was, it was like, don't say I'll try, say I will. Don't say tomorrow, say today. Don't say I know that, go thank you for the reminder. Go there. Don't say there's nothing else I can do. Say what else can I do? So that was just some of the ones that popped up my feed.
Brandon, one of the most powerful things, people sometimes get paralyzed when something hits at us that we weren't expecting. So that kind of language is very powerful. The other thing that I would say to you is think of your mantra. What's your mantra? Some people,
I don't know what's that word mean.
So a mantra will be your thing that will get you into movement, right? So one example of a mantra could be feel the fear and do it anyway. And that is a book by an American lady psychologist. That is a fabulous book. Richard Branson's mantra, and there is a great book. You have to buy this book. It's one of the best books ever. It's very short, but it's amazing stories. Richard Branson. The book is called Screw It, Just Do It. It's brilliant. It is so good, and it's so easy to read. And you get so many, and it costs about $5. I'll get it for you if you don't get it. But get your mantra. Feel, you know, whatever it is, something that will say, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? It's that kind of thing that will get you going. It get you into action. It'll get you over that fear. Because a lot of the times, what gets on the way of us being successful is that movement into action. A lot of times we know what good is for us, but without action, nothing happens. You know, Stephen Covey has the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? And this is one of the best books I have read because it's practical, it's easy to digest, and it can do it. But he wrote another book called The 8th Habit because he realized that principles without action, they mean nothing. It's not good to know that I need to sleep better if I don't sleep better. It's not good to know that I need to drink more water if I don't drink water. So principles without action, they're nothing. So you have to commit and do it. And you know, I'll leave it with another thought. When we talk about our sustainability conference, it's, as you said, Brandon, that call to action. There was a speaker from, anyway, from a company that is top in sustainability. And, you know, you can think about the environment, you can think about these things and say, mañana, mañana, mañana. But this guy said, you know, I'm going to close with this. And he said, look, if it is not now, when? And if it is not you, who? And I thought that's so powerful. You know, we talk about let somebody else change the climate. Let somebody else change something. Let somebody else sort out this. Hang on now. We have to own that space. We have to make it happen. And we have to do what we can. If it is not us, who is going to change it? But where do you start? Start anywhere. It doesn't matter. Protect the worms. Protect the spiders. Tell your kids that those animals are key into the ecosystem. Small steps. But it has to start with us, as you said. And there's no excuse. And I think, look, imagine if everybody in an organization of 10,000 people was to do one small thing to be more kind to each other, one small thing to be better to the environment, one small thing to whatever it is, that creates a movement, that creates systemic change. Read about movements, Martin Luther King, the women's rights. It all starts with a great idea, with a great purpose. And if you can rally people towards a common, exciting purpose, that's what creates top companies. That's what creates change. That's what creates energy. So anyway, look, enough with that. I love this kind of stuff. Any other questions before we go?
Yeah, Pedro, sorry, just in a recent conference, you mentioned be authentic. I think that was a really powerful finish at a conference. You just finished with it, and I just thought it left a just resonated a little bit with a lot of people there. Just be authentic. Could you just maybe just finish up on that? Just a couple of comments on that. Be authentic.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really encourage you is that be very self-aware. You just do a lot of self-awareness. Know about what you love. Know about your values. Know about what puts you on the zone. What gives you flow. Mihaly, the flow, the secret to happiness. Think about the things that give you energy. Think about the things that inspire you. Think about all those good things. And the more you know about you, the easier will be connect to who you are. And once you know who you are, warts and all, because there's no such a thing as perfection. Let's be honest. Sorry to there's no such a thing as perfection. There's many shades of the different things, right? But once you are deeply connected to whom you are, you become compassionate, you become accepting, you become happy whom you are, warts and all. That's hugely liberating. Let me give you an example. I am somebody who is highly innovative and creative. So in my business, if somebody knows that they're looking for a vanilla solution that has been done before, that is proven and tested, I am the last person they come to. Because I don't give vanilla. I'm not a vanilla merchant. Somebody's looking for something different, something very different, very creative, very whatever. Then they're more likely to come to me because that's who I am. That's one of my values. So you stay close to your values, stay close to the way you want to become, your legacy, all of that stuff. And it's just very liberating. Now, keep in mind that being you and being authentic and staying true to yourself will have impact. Some of the impact will be good because if you're in a company that values who you are, whether you're creative or otherwise, then energy, boom, boom. But if you're in a company that is different to you, it's almost like think when your body gets something in the body that is different to what the body is expecting. What does the body do? It tries to reject it. So you're somebody in a company who is very different mentally or any other way. There is a huge force to kind of push you out. And if you're very different, the likelihood is that your career might not progress as fast. You might get a little bit not as recognized as you should be. But there are choices you have to make. I'd rather stay authentic, true to myself. And if a company doesn't value that, then my choice is maybe I should go somewhere else. But what it is key, I think, is I think people that are true to themselves behave the way that is aligned to your beliefs, your ethics, your purpose. That's what gives peak performance. Everything else is just performance. So I think if you want to be the best you can be, you want to deliver peak performance, you want to be happy with your life, there's only one way, and that's being authentic to yourself.
Okay, Pedro, thank you very, very much. Absolutely fantastic. Any last comment from anybody? Just before we close, I'm conscious of time here and I just need to make sure we get away and let everyone out of the session. Any last comment?
You mentioned a book regarding heart and mind. What was the title?
It's a guy called John Kotter. If you look at John Kotter, something about hearts and minds. I don't know the exact title, but it's about leading change by changing the hearts and the minds of people. It's one of the most famous change management books. It's John Kotter anyway. If you cannot find it, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll send you the thing. And by the way, I hope that you all connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to stay connected. Don't just connect with me, connect with Jason and connect with people who talk about things that you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about mindfulness, there is a guy called Rasmus Hugert, R-A-M-U-S, Hugert, who is from the Potential Project. He's the world leader in mindfulness. If you are interested in resilience, there is a guy called Stephen Stein from the MHS. He has a book called Hardiness, which I put on the chat. He is the world leader on the whole, in my opinion, in the whole area of emotional intelligence. If you are interested in inspiration, Simon Sinek, he's just, I love him. There is a book called The Inner Game. But what I would love you to do is connect, Grit, I love it. That's another great, absolutely fantastic book. So connect with these all greatest thinkers in the world, because if you want to be the greatest in the world, you have to connect with the greatest in the world. And now, you know, you can do it through LinkedIn or any of these networks. I was cheeky enough to connect with somebody in Australia who is now my coach. And I just, I like his post, and, you know, we exchange mails. And I went back to him and said, forgive me if I'm going to be cheeky, but I love you to coach me once a quarter for an hour. What do you think? Now he's coaching me once a quarter. It's the best thing that has happened to me. I get it for free. This guy is Australian, so they cut the crap. Sorry, mate, you say this, but you do this. What's wrong with you? Okay. I love that freshness. You don't get that freshness sometimes in Ireland or Spain. We're too polite. But I love the Australian thing, you know, radical, you know, just tell you as it is, you know, and you know, they mean it well. I love that. Anyway, connect with people.
I was going to add on to that is the most successful people, and even myself, I'm coached twice by two different people. Get a coach, get a mentor, get someone else that's going to lift you up. Get a coach for different types of things. Get a coach for business, get a coach for personal stuff, get a coach for performance, get a coach for something else. That's what the most successful people in the world do.
Right.
They do that a lot. So I've got coaches that coach me. I also coach other people, but if you can, or if you can afford it, go out and get a coach. It will lift you up. It will raise your game. You'll reach up to the next level.
Yeah. I totally agree, Jason. And what I would say to you guys is you should coach each other. You know, coach each other, or think about somebody who inspires you in your family and ask them to go for a cup of coffee. Don't call it coaching. Just call it a cup of coffee and a chat.
Yeah, you're right. Most business leaders would have had a mentor or a coach running parallel with them who stay in the background, but just they're doing a great job with them. All leaders that you're familiar with, I'm sure, have coaches in there. So, okay, look, we'll wrap it up. Listen, thank you so much, Pedro. Thank you so much, Jason, for your time today. Absolutely fantastic. Again, I don't know where to start, but certainly, you know, the energy and enthusiasm and the whole idea of feed forward and be understanding oneself from Jason, I think was absolutely fantastic today. And the importance of relationships. He, you know, again, he just touched on these things so well. So really fantastic information to share. Get onto his digital platforms, see what he's doing, listen to his podcasts, whatever. There's a good coach for you. You can certainly learn a tremendous amount from Jason. Pedro, what can I say? Again, leading a fantastic organization, and I can see why, you know, you're so highly regarded, a fantastic insight into what's going on there. I love the idea of just be yourself, authentic, all the things about, you know, be positive, all the simple things that really we just forget. I think we get caught up in the whole world of clutter. And again, I think you've just cleared a lot of that clutter away today. I don't know about you, everyone on the call, but certainly you've cleared a huge amount of clutter from my head, just listening to you over the last hour. Really, again, thank you all very much. And again, let's give them a round of applause. I think they're absolutely fantastic. So really well done. We're very privileged to have you with us today. All right. So we'll sign off this evening. We'll do more of these. So again, please watch out for any kind of communication on it. Okay. So thank you all very much and best of luck. Look after yourself. Have a great week and stay safe. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Pedro.
Yeah.
What's your second name? Is it the Pedro C? Is it the Pedro C one?
It's Pedro Angulo, Angulo.
What? How was it? What's the second name?
Angulo, Angulo. Yeah, I put it on the chat.
Cool. I got you there.
Good man. Listen, stay connected. And you know, look, what if you need anything around leadership or anything or any articles or whatever, just reach out. If I have it, I'll send it to you. And if I don't, I might know somebody who has it. So so don't be shy. Go for it. I enjoy talking to you guys.
It was
come here.
It was very inspirational. Yeah, inspirational. Thank you very much.
What I would say to you, we're always looking for top graduates. So, you know, watch out for AIB. If you need an intro or anything, let me know. We're always looking for good people. So
do you find then a lot of people don't go into the corporate jobs because, like you said, the innovative thinking and always trying to learn is more entrepreneurial?
So yes and no, right? Actually, if you look at our bank, we are probably the largest IT user and creator. We have huge amount of people on data analytics. All they do is play with data, create models. You wouldn't do that anywhere else in an Irish company. We have a whole hub for innovation that is transforming our branches. There are a lot of pockets of a lot of greatness. Now, we're still a long way to go. But what I would say to you is that if you look at, in terms of technology, we're probably one of the greatest users of technology. We have all types of systems. If you are into technology, there's lots of things you can do. And the good thing about AIB, I'm going to give you a little bit of a pitch, right, is that you can make decisions here. Irish people or are people living in Ireland, or, you know, I'm not an Irish person, but people that are working there actually make decisions because we are there, as opposed to somebody in Spain making a decision as to how to run the business here, which has to happen a lot in the large multinationals. So the mother hen gives the directive, and then everybody else follow that directive, which is you just become a cog on the wheel. While in a company like ours, once our CEO says we're doing it, it just creates energy. And I don't know, you feel more of a sense of autonomy, control, empowerment. But again, look, depends who you talk to in what organizations. You know, but what I say to people, I say, look, if you're in a company that doesn't rock your boat, what are you doing there? And it's very sad, you know. I wouldn't say to anybody, stay in your company unless you really have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, listen, thanks for staying back. Please connect, and
Yeah, I got you.
let us know.